Wanted to take a second to show you these beautiful Dancing with Smurfs tomatoes. They are gorgeous, but that's not what the video is about today. I have a lot of ripe tomatoes that is going to be used to make a slight version of sun-dried tomatoes, but in the dehydrator. I have a bunch of them, and I need to get them off before these supposed storms come rolling in. Here's a good picture of what they look like on the vine once I can fight with the bowl and the tomato plants. There's a good one. There's some good ones. Look. Some are not ripe completely. Those are. So I'll see you back in the kitchen, y'all. Hello and welcome to Old Ways Gardening and Prepping. My name is Teresa. I would like to welcome you into our kitchen this evening, where it's a busy place. And well, I'm going to get started on making a version of sun-dried tomatoes. Now, yes, you can sun-dry them outside in the sun, or it would have been perfect for me, 104-degree temps, and tomatoes would have been dried in no time. The weather has changed, so you can do them also in the dehydrator, which is what I'm going to be doing. Or if you don't have a dehydrator, you can dry them in the oven, y'all. And main thing is that you get them made because they are delicious. Okay, and you can store them over the winter. Now, what I'm going to be doing is using the black plum tomato. Some people don't like them because they get too dark. I don't care how dark that sun-dried tomato is as long as it's not burnt. It don't have to be rosy red for me to like it. So let's get busy, y'all. Alright, like I said, I am using the black plum tomatoes. I have a few that have little bad spots. Guess what? I'm cutting them off. It don't matter. Now, I also have another one that people like to use for sun-dried tomatoes, the Juliet. These will dry more of a red. These will be a dark like burgundy. I don't care. It's still going to be wonderful. Now, it's simple. It's easy. I have my dehydrator. Now, I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit, lightly, of salt on each of the tomatoes so that, one, it helps with preservation. Two, it helps draw out the moisture of the tomato. Now, make sure your tomatoes are washed well, and when I say washed, I mean using water only. Cut your tomato in half. You wanting a meaty tomato that's not very juicy, and a smaller one. Just lightly sprinkle them. Because you got to remember, they are going to condense down, and that salt will condense with them. Now, the kind of salt I'm using, I made a while back. I will link the video at the end of this video. I'm using Genovese basil infused Himalayan pink salt. Now, I'm doing a light sprinkle of salt on them. If you want to, you could sprinkle like dried basil, dried oregano. Just remember, you want to do it lightly. And you want to give your tomatoes on your dehydrator tray room. This one had a little bad spot. All you do is cut it out. Because the rest of that, there ain't nothing wrong with the rest of that tomato. Don't waste that tomato. Too many people waste too much food. Oh, it smells so good. Alright, I got a bunch more. Here's a big, pretty one. Like I said, you don't want one. You don't want to use a tomato that's really juicy or great big tomatoes. You want to be able to cut your tomatoes in half. Juliet is a perfect size one because it's just a miniature plum tomato, and basically so is black plum, hence the name. Alright, I'm going to keep cutting. I'll bring y'all back here in a little bit. I ended up with 3 trays. The third tray not as full as the other trays, but this is one time you will see that I do space them. You do not want them touching. You want them to be able to breathe. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, this is not a fast overnight process. It's going to take a good while. It depends on how high is your humidity where you're at, how juicy are the tomatoes that you're using, and so on. A lot of stuff factors into it. So I'm gonna start it for 12 hours. It ain't gonna be enough, I know that much. Vegetables, 125. Depends on how they look. I'll bring you back at the 12-hour mark. I might bump the temp up, might bump the temp down. All right, 12 hours at 125. Guess what? There we go. The beginning of the process of making sun-dried tomatoes. You don't always have to do it in the sun, even though I had almost everything set up to do it. I have the screen. I just don't have the wood for the frames, and the tomatoes weren't ready at that time. Sometimes it cannot be fun starting late, but I'm thankful that I started. I have tomatoes in the dehydrator. Alright, I will bring y'all back in 12 hours. Good night, y'all. Alright, welcome back. These have dried for 12 hours. They're not done. You can still see some squish, and you can see juice in them. Now, some of these smaller ones, I'm going to move them up to this top rack because I don't want them. You want them dry, but you want them pliable. You don't want them crispy. So you have to keep an eye on them because there's always going to be some that get ready before others. I'm going to set this here. No, I'm going to set this back on here. And you can see how they have it shrink down. They're going to flatten down too. They're going to shrink more. All right. Same temperature of 125. I'm going to start doing them at 4-hour increments until I get them where I want them to be. I know it sounds weird, but I'd rather them be perfect like they're supposed to and not crispy. So, guess what? With that being said, 4 more hours. I'll see y'all back here after this round is done. Okay, it's been another 4 hours. My top ones are starting to get fairly dry. There's a few that are still sort of juicy because they're a little bit bigger, but that's okay. Now, some of these I'm going to move. Make sure your hands are clean. They're starting to dry nicely. I've let it acclimate some so I can feel the ones that are still kind of moist. That one's getting dry. Now, the second tray here has quite a few ones that are still juicy. What I'm going to do is, this one's starting to get really dry, so I don't want them crunchy. Remember, you do not want them crunchy, but you want them dry. You don't want to see goo in the tomatoes, and you can feel it. What I'm going to do is take this tray, put the tomatoes that's on here on this one, and put those on this one. Once this gets empty, yeah, I know it's a lot of work, but you know what? It's absolutely worth every second of it. All right, so I'm gonna put these on here. If they're good and getting dry, I'm putting them on the second. It'll be the second one. I'll bring y'all back. All right, from 3 trays down to basically, might as well say a tray and a half. They shrink quite a bit, y'all. It just takes a while for them to get done. You want to make sure that they are spread out. Don't let them touch one another. That way they have good airflow. And here we go again. We're going to do another 4 hours. Nope, wrong thing. Alright, I will bring you back when the 4 hours is up. A lot of them are going to be ready. There's several that I doubt will be ready, but we shall see. I'll see you back here in a bit. And yes, y'all, it's worth it. It really, truly is worth it. Okay, I have let them cool. That's what you want to hear. They're still slightly pliable, but they're not wet. These are dry. That one's not. You can feel the difference. I already know I'm going to have to run. I'm just going to let it run overnight. Because, yeah, I got to get some sleep. Nope. See, you can tell on the back of that one, it's still moist. You want them to give a little bit, but not have that moist feel. And I don't want them completely dry because then it won't work when I go to do the end of the video. There will be an end eventually. Alright, I'm just going to say most of those are a no. Oh, I forgot that I went down. Alright, I'm going to put those on this tray, combine it down, and I'll be right back. Like I said, this is a labor of love, and it is so worth it. I got a few in the jar. I got one tray. It's composed down to one tray. Uh-oh, hold on a minute. Okay. I'm going to set it for 4 hours. But I'm going to bump the temperature up to 140. And I'll see y'all in the morning. I'm fixing to get ginseng took care of, and then I'm heading to bed. See y'all in the morning. Okay, welcome back, y'all. 24 hours later, I have sun-dried tomatoes. Which, yes, you can do them in the dehydrator or the oven. But, yep, that's what those 2 3/4 trays dried down to. Now comes the fun part. You can leave them like this, but you're going to need to store them in a or you can use a jar and store them in your freezer so they'll last longer like this. You don't want to leave them out on your shelf because, yes, they're not completely dried. They're close to being dry. Now, since I've already done them in salt, I'm not going to reconstitute them in salt water. So, oh, that smells good. It's an intense, like smoky, fire roasted, like tomato smell. So, let's have some fun and make some sun-dried tomatoes packed in herbs and olive oil. Now, I have, let's see, hold on a minute. Okay, I tried to get a better camera angle. Hold on, let's see if I can lower the camera down. Alright, you want to make sure everything's clean, sanitized. Your hands are washed well too. And I'm going to make them in a pint jar. Like I said, herb infused. You want to use dried herbs. This is freeze-dried minced garlic. Oh. On the bottom, you want to start with a teaspoon. We're going to layer it. And it's a teaspoon of the garlic. and about a teaspoon, there we go, of dried oregano. You can also use thyme. You can use whatever herbs you want. Swirl them together, and then we're going to put our, like I said, we're going to layer it. Okay. That's about a quarter of the jar filled with the sun-dried tomatoes. And another teaspoon of garlic. And another teaspoon of the dried oregano. You can use basil if you want to, if you have it. I tend to like oregano a whole lot better. Alright. Another quarter of the jar. And like I said, you just keep layering. And these are going to be so good, y'all. I am so happy to have them in stock, because there'll be another video after these soak for a while, and I'm going to make bread. That's another layer. I prefer doing them in the, well, I prefer doing them in the actual sunlight, but the dehydrator is my next favorite because I don't want to heat up the house with the oven, because it takes 8 hours or better to do them in the oven. Oh, that's going to take all of them. Okay. Now, you can use extra virgin olive oil if you want to. I'm using just plain Jane olive oil. Okay, I'm going to stop for a minute because you can see those air bubbles popping up. You want to make sure now your oil level will go down. That's fine. Now I'm going to finish filling the jar up. You want to fill it to the rim, because air is absolutely not your friend in this. Not whatsoever. But look, isn't that pretty? And yes, you'll see some bubbles still coming up. You'll keep an eye on your oil level. But look, is that not beautiful? Sorry about the glare. But look at that. Now, check your oil level, because your tomatoes will start soaking in the oil, getting reconstituted. Now, you can keep these on the counter for about 4 days, but you got to use them. Now, you can get longer shelf life if you store them in the fridge. Now, the thing about doing it in the fridge, it gives you about 1 to 2 weeks. And then you got to use them. because unfortunately they can go rancid because they're not completely dry. I should have showed y'all, you want them dry, but you don't want them crunchy. You want them pliable, but you can visually see and feel that there's no moisture. Now you can store them even longer if you get freezer safe containers. No, freezing doesn't hurt them. It makes it last even longer. I know it sounds weird, a longer shelf life, but yes. Now, when you put these in the fridge, which I'm going to let these set out for several hours, then check my oil level. I'm going to store it in the fridge, let them marinate, let them get all good, soak in all that wonderfulness. Season the oil, season the tomatoes. Like I said, later on, in about a week, I'm going to do a bread recipe using them. I might do two. Probably going to do a pizza and then a peasant bread. But yes, these are amazing, y'all. And if you don't want to pack them in oil, if you want a longer, stable shelf life, put them in a glass jar and put nothing in them. Put them in your freezer and let them store that way. Make sure that the lid is good and tight, y'all. But simple, easy. If I can do this, you can do this too. And believe me, it's worth every second that it takes for those to dry. And it's no problem. They're in the dehydrator. Now, next batch, I'm going to, because I'm rusty. It's been a long time since I've got to make these beautiful, beautiful treats. I know I'm gonna just let the dehydrator run a solid 24 hours, and I'll check on them as time goes. But that's why I grew the black plum and the Juliet tomatoes, because I wanted to make sun-dried tomatoes. Now there's a Principe. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. It's the best tomato to make sun-dried tomatoes with. That's what they are specifically grown for. I will have the name in the description box below this video. But like I said, if I can do this, you can do this too. If you don't have a dehydrator, you should have an oven, and you can bake them in your oven and dry them. It just takes a while, and it's 200 degrees for your oven. Put them on, cut side up. You want to cut the tomatoes lengthwise, just like I done. Put them on a parchment paper lined cookie sheet. You can season them with the salt, which makes them taste even better, and it helps with preserving them. And 200 degrees, it's going to take, keep an eye on them, about 8 hours. And you can have sun-dried tomatoes that way if you don't have a dehydrator. I love making them, love eating them. You can cut them up. You can eat them like they are, mix them into salads. Now, when you use all your tomatoes up, don't throw away your oil, that seasoned oil, and you can make salad dressings with it and also marinades. So waste not, want not. There's so many things you can do with them. And I am happy to have my first pint jar. The rest I will be making up to go into the freezer. Now, do not worry. When you put this jar in the fridge, your olive oil will solidify. That's fine. Nothing wrong with it. Just put it on your counter for a couple of hours at room temperature, and it will go back to just being regular olive oil. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and it encourages you to go step by step and make your own amazing sun-dried tomatoes. Because let me tell y'all, it's worth every second. Continue to stock your pantry with foods that will nourish and sustain you. These are medicinal if you think about it. Make your food your medicine. Medicinals that will heal you. protection of all kinds, and above all else, the bare essentials to survive on. Everyone, I look forward to seeing you in my next video, and may you each be blessed. Hoot, hoot. Mwah. Love y'all. I'll see you soon, and y'all take care.